Hello and welcome to CCTV. The headlines for this week are: Christ University was enthralled by the live performance of an award-winning band at the table with Dr. King. Reliving the downfall of the Berlin Wall at 25 years. Blossoms kicks off in the Department of Commerce. CCTV exclusives, locating certain aesthetic spots at Christ campus. Christ University was enthralled by the live performance of an award-winning band at the table with Dr. King.
Spiritual arousal following music is probably the best way to describe the band at the table with Dr. King. This is the dynamic band that provides an exhilarating experience that urges the audience to step out to community services. The Christ University Choir and ACC jointly initiated to organize At the Table with Dr. King, an American jazz and gospel ensemble at Christ University.
Come on in where the table is spread, and the peace of the Lord is coming. Come on in where the table is spread, and the peace of the Lord is going on. Come on in where the table is spread, and the peace of the Lord is going on. You need a healing in your body. Searching for a healing for your soul. Searching for your soul's salvation. If you want the Lord to make you whole.
This 9-member band travels worldwide, inspiring the high school students and specifically the teenagers to dream big and respond to one's inner calling.
Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching till the day I die.
We have the band members here today. Here is Chris and Andy.
So I would like to ask you, how did your band form?
Our band formed first in 2007. We were a collection of worship leaders and musicians, all in the same city. We came together to do a tour in another part of the U.S., and we enjoyed it so much, and a lot of new songs and new sounds started coming out of it because we all come from different backgrounds and different musical styles and education. So after that, we decided to do a recording together in 2007. And from there we started touring and started recording more, and it just grew from there.
So what's the name behind naming your band?
Well, good question. We've actually gone through a couple different names for our band. At this stage in the game, More Than Music is the name of a nonprofit that we started in 2009 in the United States. The goal of which was to kind of expand our operations beyond just functioning as a band, and reaching out as best as we could with music and with other efforts to serve folks that really needed service.
When I researched about your band, I came to know that most of your songs are related to Dr. King. How is it?
Well, in regards to the show we're doing today, it's called At the Table with Dr. King, and it's based on the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a very revered historical figure in the United States, somebody that is familiar to people in India because he came and visited Mahatma Gandhi in the 1950s and patterned and styled his civil disobedience after the methods that Gandhi used. So Gandhi was very influential to him, therefore influential to the civil rights rights movement in the U.S. in the 1960s. So our show tells the story of his life through music and poetry and songs. We call it At the Table with Dr. King because there's a moment that we portray in the show where Dr. King is sitting at his kitchen table having received death threats from people who wanted to end the civil rights movement, and it talks about him hearing a calling upon his life and understanding his purpose was to stand up for civil rights. And so we call the show At the Table because we want people to focus on that moment and then come away with the understanding that we all have a calling, we all have a purpose to serve others in our community. We just need to listen for it and respond.
Do you have any message to pass on to our viewers?
I think I'm basically going to reinforce what Chris said. The message that we would want to pass on is that each one of us has a very unique role that we play in community, and without that, the whole community suffers as a result. But that role that we play in community, it needs to be played out in peace and in love. It needs to be carried out in a way that promotes justice and promotes those things. We're interested in seeing folks figure out how they're uniquely made to serve other people.
This is Amrita Sakriya for CCTV.
Christ University, the Institute of Management, on 18th November screened a documentary titled The Train to Freedom in association with the Consulate General of the Federal Republic of Germany at the main auditorium.
2014 marks the 25th year of the fall of the Berlin Wall. To commemorate this event, the documentary The Train to Freedom was screened at the main auditorium on 18 November 2014 at 2 p.m. The documentary dealt with the struggles faced by the people of Germany that led to the fall of the Berlin Wall.
25 years ago, the wall literally fell in Berlin. 25 years ago, after decades of division, separated families came together again, and for East Germans, they could finally enjoy what West Germans, living in a democracy, took for granted. Freedom, freedom of movement, freedom of speech, or even simply choosing a profession. When I saw the film last week for the first time, I became also very emotional because I relived these events. And one last sentence, allow me one hint. When you see in the film later, there's one person at the German embassy in Prague trying to help an East German crossing over the fence into the West German embassy. This person, Michael Steiner, is now the German ambassador to India. So the world is still small. And I have brought you also a piece of the Berlin Wall, which I, took myself out, so the government had to dismantle that. And I think most Germans have a piece of the Berlin Wall.
Sieht man irgendwas und es war nichts. Ich sehe nichts. Das ist sehr ruhig. Niemand sehen. In der Nacht vom 30. September auf den 1. Oktober 1989 fährt der Sonderzug 23300.
The screening was followed by a panel discussion. The panelists were Mr. Simon Breyer, Consul General of the British Embassy, Mr. Eric Levertu, Consul General of the French Embassy, and Mr. Jon Roeder, Consul General of the German Embassy. The discussion was moderated by Professor Naresh Rao, Head of the Department of the Media Studies.
With camera person Aloysius, this is Malvika for CCTV.
The Department of Commerce, Christ University, has started off Blossoms Fest preparation. Let's take a look.
Blossoms 2014-15 has begun with the Commerce Department. Let's hear a word or two from the SW volunteers from the Commerce Deanery. What events did you start with?
Today we started with art events. Mainly art events is Rangoli, pot art, wall painting and painting.
So how was the participation?
Participation in wall painting, there are 26 teams. In each team there are 7 to 10 people participating. Painting, it's more, Rangoli is more, lots of people have been turned up for participation.
How have the preparations been for today's event?
Initially we started with the preparation of the registration forms and all, which we actually started from the first day. That's from the 3rd itself. And about our publicity, the very first day, if you could ask the teachers as well, we had for welcoming them, we had Chandan and we had some sweets with them. So that was how near the Panchin area, central block, everyone was welcome. So we just stood there with the blossom tag. So that was how we publicized initially, and our department was the first one to do that.
The CCTV team traveled to the campus of Christ University, identifying some aesthetic views on campus. That's all we have for you this week. This is Akriti Pandya for CCTV. We'll see you next week.